All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the award winning Adams Brothers podcast. We are coming to you live today from the beautiful city of Deerfield Beach, Broward County, Florida. We are joined here this afternoon with attorney Tamar Hamilton. She is she is a candidate for Broward County Circuit Court Judge, Group number 52, and her name will be on the ballot on August the 18th. Coming up here in our primary elections. And we'd like to welcome attorney Tamar Hamilton to the Adams Brothers podcast. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you. So happy to be here today.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. And we're happy to
Exactly.
have you here as well. So let's start out by having you, Tamar Hamilton, attorney Tamar Hamilton, introduce yourselves to the viewers out in Facebook and YouTube land, and you can tell them anything that you want them to know about Tamar Hamilton.
All right. Yes, I am Tamar Hamilton, your candidate for Broward County Circuit Court Judge in Group 52, attorney at law, mother, raised both children here in Broward County for over 25 years, adjunct law professor, and special magistrate. What does all of that spell? Service, 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 and experience that the residents of Broward County and those that I have been honored to serve can count on. Yes, I have the experience as an attorney at law, ensuring that individuals and families, their property rights are protected, their legacies are secured, and their writing meets legal standards to avoid litigation. But when we must litigate, rest assured you have someone that is experienced. I'm running for Group 52, which is a civil division of our court. I'm a civil litigator, but regardless of being a civil litigator, I've had the honor of standing in criminal court with our youths and also standing on behalf of colleagues in their absence. So I'm attorney Tamar Hamilton, very rounded, very experienced. As an adjunct professor at St. Thomas University School of Law, I have the honor of mentoring future attorneys. And what an honor that has been. We have been able to get students out to pro bono opportunities, to legal clinics, to immigration clinics, so that the residents can get the help that they need, especially those who could not afford legal services or just seeking answers, just want to know, where do we start? What resources are available? What options? I have been serving. I love to educate, and I will continue to educate and mentor those that are going to be serving our legal community. And as your special magistrate, it has been an honor being able to understand, interpret, and apply the rule of law to our residents, our business owners, and done so in a manner that is fair, with dignity and respect, ensuring everyone is heard. That's the type of judge Broward County needs, and that's why Tamar Hamilton is running to be your next Broward County Circuit Court judge. Thank you.
Wow, man, that was outstanding. That was an outstanding
Yes, it
introduction, and that's
was.
why we like for you to introduce yourself
Yeah,
because we don't, nobody can do it like you. And that
Very
was
spirited.
yes, you put some
they have to
passion behind
know.
that. You put some passion behind that introduction there. So very well. I
Yes.
heard you. Now let's go on into my first question. I heard you mention that you served as a special
Special man.
magistrate and you have your experience and everything. So my first question for you would be, how has that experience prepared you to make difficult decisions as a circuit court judge, particularly when both sides believe they're right?
Oh my goodness. If there if there was anything that prepared me, and the circuit court, it's our highest trial court. You've really got to be ready. And when I tell you, you have someone that is will be ready from day one. Even as a solo practitioner, I manage and operate two locations as a solo practitioner. supervising, managing staff. And outside of my staff, I open my door to interns. I am big on mentoring and ensuring that our future, our students, high school, college, law students, they all come through here. But sitting on that bench as a special magistrate has put things in perspective for me. I now sit in a judicial role where I have cases being brought by the government entity, which is the cities, against a business owner or a homeowner or a violator. I now have to look at the facts of those cases, the evidence presented to support the allegations from both sides. I have had circumstances where we've had even criminal offenses within these municipal hearings where we've had detectives, we've had tapes, different types of evidence that I've had to listen to and make ruling. And guess what? That's the role of a judge. It helped me to build the judicial temperament that every judge must have, which is ensuring that we hear both sides of the story. I like to make reference to the image Lady Justice that we all have come to know and see. She
Hmm.
wears a blindfold, she holds a scale in her hand, and she holds a sword. Those are three elements of that image that we must pay attention to. In that judicial role as a special magistrate, that scale represents something. It means, hey, it is important that you hear both sides of the story before you decide which way the scale is going to tip. That represents a decision. It must be fair, it must be balanced, and it must be done according to the law, supported by the evidence presented. And that experience has shaped me. I recently heard someone was speaking at an event, and she stood up and she says, this is the only person, she says, Tamar Hamilton is really ready. She actually is from one of the cities that I've had to work closely with. She says she's ready because she's the only person that I've seen can make a decision that you would consider harsh, but yet, the way the people respond to her, you would never believe it's so harsh. Why? Because I'm able to help people understand there is respect for the law, but when it is applied fairly, when it is explained, when people are treated with respect, even in the face of a harsh decision, it is appreciated. It is appreciated, and that's the role of a judge. Yes, we must uphold the laws, but let's do so fairly, impartially, and there's no reason not to treat the people that comes before us with respect.
And I
Mhm.
heard you mention two words. You said fair and balanced. And I
So,
think that is what the public
Mhm.
wants to hear, because being in front of a judge down at the courthouse, that's intimidating. And,
oh my God.
a lot of people that look like us, black people, when they go down to the courthouse right off of the bat, they really don't feel like they're going to get a fair trial or a fair, case down there, that, they don't have a lot of trust in the justice system.
No,
So that word fair and balanced, that's what the public likes to hear.
and
Right.
it's needed. It is so needed. And and as a judge, that's what we are there to provide. We are not the litigants. We are there to hear and ensure that the matters before us are sound. And again, that comes down to having the knowledge. One of the things that I am so excited about as an adjunct law professor, teaching courses such as legal research and writing, property law courses, real estate, law office management. I have the opportunity of getting the latest, the greatest, the best, most up to date on legal cases, what's good law and what's not. And today we need that, because if someone presents something to you, and you should be able to look at that case, prepare for that case, and know when something is applicable or not. And that's what we need to rebuild the trust and the respect of our community in our judiciary. And I'm telling you, what I'm seeing from just my engagement as a special magistrate, my community work that I do to educate, when people see that you have the knowledge, you spend the time to prepare, and there is
Mm-hmm.
efficiency, oh, it gives them such confidence.
Oh yeah.
It
Mm-hmm.
helps. It goes a
Oh yeah.
long way. That is who I am. That is how I practice law. That's how I teach law. That is how I engage with the community. Do you know how many times I'm going to court? People are holding on to the post outside. They are afraid. They
Uh,
are crying before they even enter the courtroom. Not
It's
mm-hmm.
sure.
intimidating.
It is.
Yeah.
Worse
Yeah.
when you
Mm-hmm.
put on that black robe and you step out
Yeah.
there, they're like, oh, help me now.
All right. Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I've been down there before. I never in any trouble, but I've had to go down before a judge before, and then
mhm,
and I can tell you, it just walking in that courtroom. It to me, and in my own personal experience, it was intimidating for me, and I
wow.
was nervous, and I didn't do anything wrong, but I'm just there, and I'm like, man, I can just imagine if I had done something wrong. I'd be a nervous wreck and having all kind of anxiety attacks and everything. So
Yeah.
it's good to make the people feel like they're gonna get a fair and balanced
Yeah.
and to be
We,
heard
yeah,
and to be
we
heard.
can create a welcoming environment. The law in itself gives all the nerves that you could possibly think of. But when your courtroom is welcoming, it's prepared, and you are prepared, and your staff, which again, how do you get those skills if you've never managed your own practice? You've never been in the role of
Mm-hmm.
supervising anyone. That's when you will see some confusion. Right now, one of the efficiency is needed. Clear instructions are needed. A lot of times the frustration that we see is because someone just didn't know how to prepare. They didn't know that they were to
Mm-hmm.
send something prior to the hearing. They're taking it, bringing it in with them, like, no, ma'am. And then they're getting screamed at. No, ma'am, we can't take that. You're supposed to follow that. Did you read the instruction? I tried to read the instructions, but I couldn't understand. These are things that, the teacher in me, the mother in me, I like to explain things. I like to use plain language. I am not one of those. And yes, rest assured, you put me on a platform and I need to start speaking Latin, I'll speak it. Okay. The intelligence is no problem. But I
Mm-hmm.
like to use plain language that
Mm-hmm.
everyone can understand.
Mm-hmm.
And that's good. That's good. Everybody's vocabulary is that extensive, so when you kind of break it down and
Yeah.
to the least
Please.
common denominator and put it to
Yeah.
people,
Please.
it helps.
It
it,
do.
Yes.
it does help.
Yes.
And during your introduction, this is my second question. During your introduction, I heard you mention civil litigation, and your legal practice has focused heavily on civil litigation, probate, real estate, and business law. Uh, how will that experience translate to handling a broader range of cases heard in the circuit court?
So, circuit court is everything. That is our highest local court. It matters valuing over $50,001 in civil matters, whether it's family, which I'm experienced in, whether it's real estate foreclosure or a dispute, a contract matter, a personal injury matter, a business matter, all the way up to the death penalty. All of that is heard on circuit. However, as the next judge, you are placed in a specific division. You're not placed in the entire circuit where you go from court to court. And that's why the division is represented by that group number. Group 52 actually represents this division in which the judge retired, and this was a civil division. So civil can include anything that's not criminal. That's where your foreclosure matters are heard. That's where your pleas are made, association matters, homeowners association, insurance issues. That's where our seniors go when they have issues of fraud and scam, uh, just about everything. The majority of cases in circuit are actually civil related because most of our community that will ever go to court is really not for a criminal charge,
Mm-hmm.
right? The criminal
Yes.
division is there to
Yes.
handle that. And I also have experience in there. I have so many youths that I've had the privilege of standing beside when they've done certain crimes and the parents have fallen apart, don't know what to do. And you know what? I have no problem. I have the legal knowledge. I am an attorney. I know how to interpret laws and statute. So I will step into any courtroom any day. You present your case, I'll be able to review that law and determine how it applies to the set of facts that are here before me. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what makes me the qualified candidate in Group 52 to serve as the next circuit court judge. I am ready from day one.
Well said.
Exactly.
Well said. Right?
Yes. And that leaves me to ask the question: what qualities do you believe make a outstanding circuit court judge? What qualities?
Absolutely. The number one quality is the ability to listen to everyone that comes before you. Again, I like to make reference to Lady Justice, that image with that bronze lady wearing that blindfold. That blindfold is so important. As a circuit court judge where matters of life and death, people are losing sometimes the only legacy that they have, whether that's a child, whether it's a loss of a loved one, whether it's a home, whether it's a business. As a circuit court judge, it's important that you wear that blindfold and listen to every voice that comes before you. It's important that you hear the matter and not see the individual for their status, whether it's their color, how they're dressed, the size of their bank account. I don't like the color shirt you wear. Put on your blindfold. I believe sometimes we literally need to wear a
Mm-hmm.
blindfold. Perhaps the sense of hearing will be more pronounced and we will be more attentive to the voices that are speaking. But the number one quality is ensuring everyone is heard.
Mm-hmm.
That's all
Okay.
people ask for. Give me a fair chance.
Mm-hmm.
Hear my story too. And, I want to share this.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned this from going to court. I've been going to court before I even became a lawyer. When I was in law school, and for any young people that's listening and watching this program, I want you to be encouraged that opportunities may come that you do not receive, but don't let it stop you from taking those opportunities. As a student in law school, they would come out with all the advertisement of this judge needing a clerk or an internship opportunity, and I'm telling you now, every time I went, as soon as I get the email, I will get up out of class, run to the department. The position was already taken. And it took me a while to realize that no, there was already a selection of who they really wanted to take that position. And when I realized that, what I started doing during my off days, couple hours between class, I drove down to the courthouse myself
Mm-hmm.
and I stepped into the courtrooms. I would sit in the back of courtrooms and observe the proceedings. I went to every court, juvenile, family. I watched jury trials. I watched jury selections. I had to take that role to not wait for someone to select me but for me to step into the opportunity.
Mhm.
That is important. And that really taught me a lot. And I didn't even know, look at me today. That
Mhm.
was, we're talking 2011 to 2013. And today, here I am, about to not just sit in the back of that courtroom watching anymore, but to take the bench and make opportunities available for our students, for our children, for our community to come and look at someone that is representing, that is a
Mhm.
voice for our people.
Okay. Okay. And well said. And have you ever had any bar complaints lodged against you?
Oh, yes. As a matter of fact, the first bar complaint I had, like, you get so nervous, like, what? Would someone really complain to the bar? But you know what? You get to the point where once you know you're doing the right thing and
Mhm.
you're leading your practice with integrity and you're
Mhm.
carefully following the rules, then you're fine. I have had twice, I've had a bar
Mhm.
complaint in my over 12 years of practicing. And in both cases, it was resolved that I was not in violation of any of the ethical rules under the Florida bar. And that makes you feel good. Even though someone will complain, you must practice in a way where you're confident that if a complaint is made, that you have been following all the guidelines. And I've been proud to say that reports have been made, but I've had favorable results. Why? Because I practice with integrity, follow the guidelines. And guess what? It is a beautiful thing to have these bar agencies that you
Mhm.
know that governs us, that
Mhm.
governs the ethical, the rules. Because I have called them. I've had matters, and it is such a joy to pick up the phone, call the ethics guidelines to say, hey, I have this matter and I'm not sure. Here's what's on my mind. They provide guidance. So we have opportunity to make corrections, to do things the right way before it even escalate into a complaint.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. You answered even my follow-up question. And
Okay.
I wanted to ask you too, how do you interpret the importance of judicial independence, particularly when cases uh, of public interest involve public pressure or media attention?
So, the rule really guides us on that.
Hmm.
The canons guide us on that as far as our communication in circumstances, communicating with media, communicating with the public, communicating with parties in a matter. But
Hmm.
judicial independence is simply you following the rules of ethics that guides your communication, that guides your behavior under these circumstances that may arise. Judicial independence also involves using judicial discretion,
Hmm.
right? Again, I like Lady Justice. Why? She holds a sword in her hand. That represents a level of authority that has been entrusted to you. How do you manage that is independent. It's on you. We can either take advantage of that
Hmm.
authority or we can rule with compassion, with
Hmm.
mercy, with integrity. And
Hmm.
I've been in situations, and I would love to share an example right now in my role as a special magistrate where I've had to exercise that independence, that discretion. I had a situation and two similar cases. We had a business operating in a particular city. That business was cited because they were operating outside of the scope of the permission granted. However, the effect of the work that they were doing outside of the scope, the permission granted, started to affect the surrounding residents to the point where it became a danger to them. People were now afraid to walk at certain hours. People were afraid to pass that area. It became a threat. And so it was before me to revoke the privilege given to that business so that that city could close that business down. This was the matter that must be decided. I had another business operating outside of the scope of the permission given to them. However, that was a violation of a law, absolutely a violation. However, it was not posing a risk to the community or any surrounding business. How did I use judicial independence, judicial discretion? How did I utilize that sword? Immediately, the decision was made. That business, based on the evidence presented, based on the testimonies, had to be closed immediately to protect an entire community. The other business, I exercise that judicial independence, exercise that judicial discretion to say, I'm going to give you X amount of time to either update the record to make sure what you're seeking to do that is currently outside the scope is approved or not. Either you will update the certificate, the application to include those use, and if they're not approved, that you will stop immediately. So we allowed time for that business to do what the right thing so that they could continue to their livelihood. Their business was their livelihood. That's what took care of them. And because this is where the scale comes in, there was no harm. There was, violating the law is a harm. But we say, hey, you have time, you can fix this. Here's your opportunity. Because if this comes back and it's the same, then the result is different. So that is how you exercise that judicial independence in making decisions. That is how you use the scale. That is how you carry that sword in your hand when you're going to rule over people. It's a lot of discretion and independence that you have as part of the judiciary. And we've seen where that is for good and for bad.
Yeah. And to follow up on that, I mean, you almost answered a lot of that. What steps do you take to avoid conflict of interest and bias?
Oh, you stick to the law. Stick to the law and every matter to avoid conflicts and bias. You want to treat every matter as its own. And even currently, the way I practice law, I could just get off the phone with an irate client, a case that just terrible. But guess what? I have another client that's waiting to speak with me on a completely different matter. I have developed the temperament. When that matter is done with, it's done with. I am not going to take the temperament, the atmosphere of that matter. And you're there thinking, oh, Lord, now I'm going to have a bad day. That litigant just upset the judge. And now it's just going to be, no. I've learned to separate. You must, one matter at a time. Everyone deserves their time. Everyone deserves to be heard. I do not prejudge. I give everyone the opportunity to present their case and stick to the law, stick to the facts, stick to the evidence presented. Do not insert my personal preferences. We all have our own personal biases. Leave that out the door. Let's stick to the matter at hand and give everyone a fair chance. I've been practicing that. I'm ready to do that and to serve in that manner.
Fairness.
Yes. And how do you stay current with changes in the law and apply them fairly in rulings?
I'm a teacher of the law. I get the first update. And one of the beautiful things about becoming a judge, most of our law school professors are judges. I get to continue to stay in that classroom, to mentor our future attorneys, and to stay informed and updated. You have to read. You have to be continuous legal education is so important. I enjoy reading. I enjoy those continuous legal education webinars, videos. That's how you stay up to date. Not just so you can represent the public well, but so that you can stay informed and educated. And that is what's going to really help build the trust of the public in Tamar Hamilton for their next judge. They can tell when someone is prepared. They can tell when someone has been part of a continuous education system because you know, and you'll be able to better serve the community. And I will continue to keep myself educated and informed, not just in the legals, not just with what's happening legally. Staying informed with what's happening in our community is also so important. It's important that we stay connected to the organizations and leaders of our community that are making efforts to educate, to inform, and just to create a better community for everyone to live in. So that's my heart is community. Legal, I've already positioned myself to continue learning, to continue growing, and to continue contributing. But this journey that I'm taking through Broward County, it has been one of the most meaningful journeys of my life. I am on every ballot in Broward County. As I sit here, I have stepped on every city. I have driven through and placed my feet on every city in Broward County. I have made effort to connect with persons in every city. And oh my, you learn about the challenges, you learn about the victories, you learn about the needs, you learn about the provisions. Amazing community that I am so proud for the opportunity to go and serve as their next circuit court judge.
You always lead me into my next question.
Right.
And I heard you mention that you're a law school professor and you enjoy teaching in the class.
Yeah.
And that was going to be my next question when I came back around. So as an adjunct lawyer, professor, law professor, what lessons have your students taught you that will make you a better judge?
My students is show up. Show up. I demand of them to be present, but I've seen students show up under the most challenging of situations. I've seen students show up, single moms, single dads, asking, Professor, I'm here, but I have my baby. Will you let me in? I've seen them tired from studying, preparing for an exam, but they show up. And sometimes I'm standing there on the podium and I'm looking across the faces of my students and I can tell when they've pulled an all-nighter. And it has really taught me, no matter what, you show up. You show up for the people that you're serving. You show up for the people that are there to serve you. They know I prepared a lesson for them. They showed up for it regardless of the situation. And I always admire them for that. Sometimes I stand on that podium and I just look out at them and I smile in my heart because I know what it took for them to show up.
All right. That's a good. I like that.
That's a great.
And I know I talked a little bit about courtroom management. I want to talk, a little bit further into the courtroom management. We personally, we had a guy that murdered our sister back in 1987, I believe. 86.
March 18th.
And it was a cold case for 20-something odd years. And finally, they arrested the guy, I believe through DNA. And he sat in the courtroom for, he sat in the Broward County Jail for 7, 8, or 9 years.
8 years.
8 years. And finally, after so many years, he took a plea, from the state, and he was asking for 30 years and 20 years. No, I believe it was 20 years, and he was asking for 20 years,
25.
for 25 years, but
Yeah.
the family wanted more. So he ended up accepting the 30 years, and uh, ultimately he went to prison, and he only did 6 years in prison, and he bragged about it the whole time, because he knew he had to get sentenced under those guidelines back when he committed the murder. So that's since changed, I believe, and
With the stop law.
yeah, the stop law, yeah. So what I'm getting at is when he was getting ready to get sentenced, we were in the courtroom and we were talking to the judge. The judge was victims impact, and we were making statements, and the judge told us that we weren't allowed to look at the defendant at all, and our family felt that that wasn't right. So we thought that we should at least had a had should have had the opportunity to at least look at him,
Like the Parkland families did.
like the Parkland families did, but we weren't allowed to do that. So in that same case scenario, how would you have handled that? Because we didn't feel like we got a chance to really address him without violence or anything. But how would you have handled that?
And so sorry. I know that is something that will stay with you in the family forever.
Yeah.
That's a loss. Sorry to hear that. As a judge, your courtroom, that's your space. And you are given, you mentioned something earlier about judicial independence.
Mhm.
That management of that courtroom is on you. The very organization, the way the courtroom is set up is on you. And so, depending on the circumstances,
Mhm.
depending on the level of emotion that's happening in that courtroom, the judge, in an effort to manage the emotions or not to provoke excessive anger or the possibility of attack, whether it's physically or verbally, the judge may often, and if I see the possibility of that, depending on the emotions of the persons, that's because you've got to look around as a judge.
Mhm.
You've got to
Mhm.
be hearing and seeing what's going on in your courtroom, and based on that decide how are you going to manage this matter. And in a situation like that, if I see anger rising and crying and a lot of emotions, I would ask the litigants, the witnesses, to please address the court, because
Mhm.
ultimately you are there to address the court. However, there are circumstances where if someone is hurting and they're sitting in a box, distance, and the likelihood of physical harm, it's unlikely. So depending on the setting of that courtroom, if your physical reach is unlikely, you're in a witness box, and the person, the violator, is in a distance, and it's asked permission, speak. You can speak. Go ahead, speak to the person. Because I've seen judges allow that too, where they says, "You've heard our family, they've allowed that to help to bring closure, especially in a situation where guilt is already on the record."
Mhm.
But so those are the circumstances that I would consider. Would this give closure, or will this provoke anger? Will it create disruption in the courtroom, or will I be able to maintain order under those circumstances? So as a judge, I would do what I think would best maintain order and not provoke anger. And if that meant asking you to please address the court and
Mhm.
not the guilty person, I would ask you to do that. If I see no harm and I believe this will bring closure, and sometimes the attorney or the family may even ask in advance, may we make a statement for closure to the person that has brought this hurt on our family. And sometimes the judge would grant that, especially if it's asked ahead of time.
Yeah,
So I would be accommodating, but definitely would need to take the circumstances and the setting in consideration to ensure that order is maintained for the families and for everyone else that is present in the courtroom.
yeah, but we weren't given that opportunity to ask the court. As soon as we got in there, we were just told not to look at him, and that did take away from the closure. We had waited almost 30 years to face this guy, and the family as a whole feels like that part of that closure was taken away from us because we weren't allowed to even look at him.
Not even.
And after he was sentenced, guess what he did? When he walked out of the courtroom, he looked at us. He was allowed to look at us and laugh in our faces going out the courtroom. Yeah. He laughed at us.
Yeah.
I hope those days
that's
are
why
gone,
and that's why that was like throwing salt on a wound, you know?
Yeah, and I hope those days are gone because there's a lot in that because recently I was at a park and a black brother was walking in the park and I handed him a card. He took the card and he came back after he walked a while and he says, "Miss Hamilton, I'm gonna vote for you. But can you please give us a chance to be heard?" I feel like when a black brother walk in the court, we are already just criminals. Nobody want to hear us. We're treated like we don't get the same treatment like other people. We don't get to enough time to express ourselves. It's like, don't even talk in here. And he told me the situation where a child support judgment was entered against him and he wasn't even present. He didn't even get the notice and he wasn't even allowed to explain that. It's as if he was guilty before he was even tried. Right. And with tears in his eyes. And I assured him, everyone will be heard. And under those circumstances, if you have especially family related sensitive matters like that, someone is not there, judicial independence again, judicial discretion. Counsel, do you have a phone number? Is this person aware that we are proceeding this morning with this matter? Can you try to reach this person? Let's see if they want to appear by phone. Let's see if they did receive the notice. Efforts can be made, and that's where we're going to rebuild the confidence and the respect and the trust of the people for the judiciary.
And if you can do that, thank you. Yeah. If you can.
I will. We can, and we will. There are certain circumstances that demands that. It's not an everyday thing. But there are certain circumstances where those extra efforts can be made to ensure fairness in due process.
Well, that person that murdered our sister has since transitioned, and the man upstairs is dealing with him. So that's the closure that we got, and that's a closed chapter in our lives right now. So. You answered the questions very well. So in my closing statement, I'm gonna we'd like for you and the viewers out there in Facebook and YouTube land would like for you to look in that camera, and I am going to give you 2 minutes to tell the people that's going to be voting on during early voting on August the 8th, and during the primary election on August the 18th. Look into that camera and tell the voters here in Broward County why they should elect you as the next Broward County Circuit Court Judge in Group 52. You have the floor. 2 minutes.
Thank you so much. Thank you all for participating. Thank you for those of you who are already supporting. Now more than ever, our voice matters, not just in speaking, but we must go to the polls. We must exercise our rights to choose who will serve us. The judiciary is one of 3 branches of our government where matters are decided life and death. And I want to be that voice for you as I have been in the capacity as an attorney, as a teacher, as a mother, as a wife, as an educator, as a special magistrate. I want to be that one to continue to give us a chance to be heard. You know, when we step out on that bench, we're performing. When we put that robe on, it's time to perform. But when the doors closed, I want to be that voice. I want to be that face of representation. I want to be that person that you can look to and says, there is one. I am Tamar Hamilton, and I need your support on August 8th when you vote, or earlier. Your ballots may be sitting on your table. Please go to the polls August 8th to the 16th, and on election day, August 18th, and elect Tamar Hamilton to be your next Broward County Circuit Court judge in Group 52. And as I said, it's time, Broward County, that we raise the bar with Tamar. Visit my website, tamarhamilton.com, to learn more about me and how you can support me to ensure that together we raise the bar in Broward County. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well said.
Well
You did
said.
an outstanding job, and I tell you, man, you answered the questions very, very well.
Thank you.
You get a big clapping round of applause here from us.
Yeah.
And you did an awesome job,
Yes,
and
you
we
did.
want to wish you very well
Thank
on your quest to becoming the next judge in Group 52 at the Broward County Courthouse down there. We know you're going to do well, and when you win, don't forget about us. Come back and see us and talk to us, and and I know you're going to be busy.
Congratulate the voters.
Yes,
Thank
and-
you.
and
No, we
thank
got to
the
come
folks.
back. Tell the people how we did it.
Yeah.
We got to come
Yeah.
back. Say thank you.
I certainly hope I never ever have to come down and see you at that courthouse. I can tell you that much. So I've lived a clean life, and I expect to continue to do so. But I don't want to see you in that capacity. But good luck to you,
Yeah.
Thank
Tamar
you.
Hamilton.
And I'd like to holler at you offline as soon as we get off.
Real
Just for a
quick.
brief minute,
Yes. Thank
literally.
you. Thank you.
Thank you all for watching. We've been talking to attorney Tamar Hamilton. She is a candidate for Broward County Circuit Court Judge in Group 52. Thank you so much for joining the award-winning Adams Brothers podcast on our podcast, and good luck to you, ma'am.
Thank you.